So you can double your CAGED knowledge and your CAGED skills by just understanding what a relative major minor are. So relative major minor is just for every major chord, say you have C, there's a minor chord that shares almost the same exact notes. And for the pentatonics, so like a C major pentatonic is going to be the same 5 notes as the A minor pentatonic. So if I'm in C, that's going to be the C major pentatonic. But if I'm in A minor, it's the same notes. And if you go over the whole major scale, it's the same thing. So it'd be the same 7 notes. If you take C major, a 7-note scale, it's same as the A minor 7-note scale. So it's almost like they're almost the same thing. The big difference is for C you're gonna have C, E, and G, and for A you're gonna have A, C, and E. So there's just a 1-note difference. So it's almost like they're twins, but just missing 1 note in the chords as far as it is. They're almost more like brothers. So what that means for CAGED is if you know your C shape, if you know all your major chord shapes, what happens is the relative minor is just 4 frets down. So if I'm on C major, the C major shape, if I start at the C and count down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's gonna be the relative minor. And if you know the Nashville number system, if you're gonna say your C note is your 1, your C major chord is your 1, the relative minor is always the 6. So there's 3 ways you can look at these minor shapes. The first one is you just see where the minor shape lives inside the major shape. And again, it's going to be that relative major minor thing. So C major's relative minor is A minor, and it lives right there in that shape. Same thing here. If you go to this C shape here, the A shaped C, you're going to know that there's a G minor shaped A, or full G shaped C major chord. There's going to be A minor within that same kind of overall shape. So that's one way to look at it, kind of almost more of a geometrical fill in the space. The second one is that major to minor 4-fret trick. So if you have C major here, you have the E-shaped C major, 4 frets down is going to be the relative minor A minor in the E-shaped. Another good way to look at it is to know where the 3rd is. So if I was playing a E major shaped A major chord, I know that's the major 3rd, and I just need to move it down 1 fret to get the minor. So same thing here. If this is the C shaped A major chord, I know the 3rd's here, and I just need to move it down to get that minor. Or over here you get the A, the A major shaped A chord, the major 3rd's here, just move it down 1. So you can kind of take those 3 approaches and just see what works best for you. Whether it's kind of seeing just the big blocks of the geometrical shapes, knowing within that shape there's your G-shaped C chord and E minor shaped A minor chord. Or if you want to know the 4-fret thing, that might work better for some people. Or it's knowing that the major 3rd's here and the minor's there. And sometimes it can be just a combination of almost keeping those 3 things in your head as you're learning it. So I would keep those in mind, see which one's easiest for you, and let that lead you. And then as you learn it and get more familiar with it, you'll be able to see all 3 at once. And that's when it gets a little easier. So for the minor shapes, we'll do A minor, since we did C major for the major CAGED system in the last video. So again, if you know C, and you kind of want to keep those familiar shapes, you just go down for C to B, B flat, A. So we're gonna do A minor. So it's that A minor shape here. And again, the thing with CAGED is it's all movable. So even though we're in A minor, you can just move this shape. The root note's gonna be here. You know, it's where the nut is, so you can pretend I'm capo in there. You just move that here. So C minor is there, D minor is there, you know, E flat minor is there. And so again, we all kind of know that A minor shape. That's one of the common ones. The next one up that's A shape is going to be the G shape. And I don't think I've ever played a G minor shape like this as a full chord. You know, if you think about your G chord, you know, I don't think I ever play that minor chord there. But that's what it would be. You would take your A root, and again, this is kind of like that major shape too. Like, it's not common to do big chunky voices on this, but I usually will either do the top part, kind of arpeggiate it. It's kind of a thick shape there, or you can, you know, bar these bottom 3. There's a little bit of a nicer sound, and that gives you an A minor sound there. And the next shape up, so that's A, and then you have your A minor shape, then you have your G minor shape. The next shape is going to be your E minor shape, which is on the 5th fret here. And that's the one we all know and love, where our minor pentatonic lives. It's pretty straightforward. And then the next one after that, D minor shape down here. You can hit the root on the 7th fret on the D string. You have A minor there. I like to use this little triangle here. That's one of my favorite ways to use that shape. Is kind of in the middle of 2 shapes here. Some people will then throw that 3rd on the bottom. And you're getting halfway in here to the next chord, which is the C shape. So if it was A major, remember the C shape would be this, but we need to move that minor down. So you end up getting this. It's usually awkward for me to play this. So again, like I usually just play that little triangle shape there. Maybe I'll arpeggiate it. But that's your C minor shape, and then you're back to, after C comes the A minor shape up here. Like my fingers are too fat to play it up there, but that's that A minor shape. A little tight, but and then you're back to where you started. So that's the minor CAGED chords. And just like the major chords, you know, as I explained, CAGED is kind of the foundational level. Then you have your triads can sit on top of that, and then you have your pentatonics, arpeggios, and all stacks on top of there. So when you're learning the chords, it is good to just find some different triads. You know, you can always, a good way to learn this. I mean, I would just go on, just Google CAGED minor shapes, and they'll all come up, or A minor triads, and you can kind of see where they sit in those patterns. But you definitely want to start by knowing the CAGED chords here. So once you know your major CAGED chords and then your minor CAGED chords, I would just pick one of those relative major and minors. So we've done C major and A minor, and I would just practice them over a loop. It'll be good practice because it'll make your ear, you'll have to pay attention to what chord's playing underneath. So you just find a loop, get a drum track in there, you do a couple bars of A minor, a couple bars of C major, and you just try to move the chords around in each position. You can start really slow, then you can start to go fast. Back to the start. And then once you get comfortable with that, you can speed it up and kind of move it around quicker. So that's a great exercise. You can start at your own pace. Just go slow if you need to. Pick a relative major and minor. Slowly work up the different shapes until you get very comfortable with them. And then, as I demonstrated, once you get comfortable, you can start to move them a little bit quicker.